Hey, time for a little booktube talk. I was watching a video um, by is it Jesse Gender, who is a YouTuber, um, transgendered YouTuber who who did a video on Ready Player 2 and the kind of potentially problematic issues with it. And I haven't read Ready Player 2. I've read Ready Player 1, and it's a it's a pretty retrograde book. It is a 80s adventure written written now by a dude who was probably my age exactly, who is obsessed with who not I don't know if I was obsessed with, but basically had the same diet of stuff that I did at my time. And it's basically a fantasy about if some other old dude left a legacy of a giant company, and the only way you could win it was to learn all of his 80s stuff, which he was most definitely very obsessed with, and then write it as basically an 80s science fiction adventure. Except now you can get Steven Spielberg to actually make the movie of it, a pretty crappy movie of it. Um, and yeah, it's all written from the point of a kind of a kind of a lonely, horny teen dude who, when he looks at girls, he's just thinking about sex and stuff like that. Um, and I don't know. It's sort of one of these things of like when something becomes super popular, then people pull it apart. And so instead of it just being like, oh yeah, it's kind of a horny teen dude, it's a problematic teen dude and it's problematic because he's objectifying women because he's a horny teen dude. I guess the thing that actually that Jesse really did put forward is like, yes, that's fine, but it's being written by an adult author who maybe could try and bring something more to it. Though you get the sense that Ernest Cline is mostly just interested in having fun. And a part of having fun isn't particularly poking around at any of this stuff. It's giving you basically the most kind of superficial stuff. Now, apparently, in his latest book, he has decided to have a trans character in the book, and that's of course opened up a whole nother can of worms. Which, it's one of these things of you get damned for not including, um, you know, people, other people from other parts of life, of not having like, oh, you just wrote a book that's all straight people. But then when you do, and you're a straight guy, then you're sort of screwed because you're probably going to get it wrong, which it sounds like he's he's tried his best, but maybe hasn't. And who knows? I mean, Jesse said, like, well, he should have really consulted trans people. I guess we won't know unless he says whether he did or he didn't. Maybe this level that he got to was gotten to by kind of consulting trans people. Um, there is a part of me, because Ernest Cline is an old dude like myself. He's probably in his 50s, I'm assuming. I don't think he's older than that. That kind of goes like, you know, I think about where I was when I was a young dude, and, you know, how I think we're all running to keep up at the moment. And it is the difficulties of that, and how, you know, you know, if you're young and you're just absorbing and you're absorbing and you're absorbing, you can process this stuff. Whereas when you start getting older, it's harder to keep up. And like 5 years ago, you were progressive. Now you're completely off base. And you got to, it's difficult. The world is difficult. And there's a part of me that my heart goes out to someone like Ernest Cline that is like, yeah, I don't think you're particularly a nimble or nuanced or thoughtful writer. I think you're trying to be a fun writer. But you're in a world that is very complicated, and people will look at your work and dissect your work in a complicated way. And I mean, you know, you're also very lucky because your work is so successful that people actually are paying attention to it enough to want to lay it on the dissection table and rip it apart. Your fun little bauble, which, you know, it's a cursing and a blessing. I mean, if a shit ton of people buy it and you make a lot of money and a lot of people enjoy it, I guess that's okay. You can ignore the voices on the side. Um, yeah, yeah, it's just one of those things that there's a slight part of me that's like, oh, you know, if I ever, you know, I'm writing stuff at the moment, it's probably all wrong too, but nobody's going to see it, so that's okay. um, but if ever anyone did, it would be highly problematic. It would be highly crap. I would be objectifying everybody. Um, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I think I watch people like Jesse because I'm I want to know how wrong I am. I want to know how out to lunch I am. I want to think about stuff. But I also, you know, I also find things sexy. Um, it's one of those difficult things. What I find something sexy to I'm objectifying and harming somebody because I don't want to harm anyone. I don't want to make someone an object. I want to respect people as people while at the same time having a libido. I don't know. I don't know. You know, um, it's just one of those interesting things where you start. I just like, I don't know. Do I feel old, or do I just feel clueless? Because I felt clueless all my life. um, Maybe it's just because it's Ernest Cline and I are probably a similar age. I could I start identifying more with the old dude than I do with the people who are trying to patiently explain to the old dude. I think, and actually, it's not so much Jesse as it's um, there's people in the comments who are all kind of really heavily down on Ernest Cline in a way that feels like maybe more that they're trying to boost themselves up than they are um, like, I found somebody who's wrong. Great. Therefore, I can make myself feel better by saying how wrong they are versus going, yep, we all fuck up. We all do things wrong. Jessie, in her video, says, you know, I've said transphobic things in the past. I've done transphobic things in the past, and I'm a trans person. Um, you know, so so she's not trying to she's trying to kind of explore and educate and not shame, but she does seem to have a large part of an audience that would be happy with the shaming part and that kind of this is shit, let's shit on this, let's rip it apart kind of part. I don't know. I want to enjoy stuff, and I want to examine stuff in a joyful way, in a way that isn't um, that I can say, I think this has kind of got some weird things going on here that aren't that great, but isn't it great that we have this thing still? It's that thing of media that you go with. And I mean, you know, sometimes you get nasty moods and I watch a video that's ripping apart a Star Wars. I swear to God, I have not watched the final Star Wars movie, the final Rey Finn Star Wars movie, but I've watched so many videos ripping it down out of some kind of weird kind of or examining it or dissecting it. I've watched so many of those videos. It's probably 40, 50 hours of that, but I haven't actually watched the actual movie. What the hell's wrong with me there? But that's that kind of dark impulse. I just don't know what it's about. So yeah, this isn't so very much about Ernest Cline as it is about myself, which, par for the course for these videos. All right, see you later.